Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum. So in this video, we're gonna cover two topics together, topics 6 and 7, social emotional development. I think you already know the definition of social and also emotional. So basically, social refers to the process by which a child learns to interact with others, while emotional includes feelings and emotions. In these two topics, there are a few theories that you need to know. The first one is Bowlby's ethological theory of attachment. There are four phases in this theory. The first one is pre-attachment phase, happens between birth to 6 weeks. Babies at this age recognize their own mother, however, they are not attached yet to her since they do not mind being left with an unfamiliar adult. Second phase is attachment in the making phase, between 6 weeks to 6 to 8 months. Infants respond differently to a family caregiver than to a stranger. For example, they may smile to their mothers or fathers but not to stranger. Babies begin to develop a sense of trust with the caregiver, but they still do not protest when separated from her. Third phase is clear-cut attachment phase between 6 to 8 months to 18 months to 2 years. Attachment to the caregiver is evident. This is when the babies become so clingy with the mothers or caregivers. Babies display separation anxiety. They become upset when the caregiver leaves. And the final stage is formation of a reciprocal relationship between 18 months to 2 years and on. Toddlers understand some of the factors that influence the parents coming and going and to predict her return. As a result, separation protest declines. For example, children at this age, when their mothers or fathers send them to a childcare center, they may not protest because they know that later in the afternoon, the parents will come to pick them up. And then we have Sigmund Freud psychoanalytic theory. He explained in this theory that our personality developed through the interactions of three components of our mind, that is id, superego, and ego. Id is the one that seeks to bring us pleasure. It will make sure we get what we need without consideration of reality or consequence. And then we have superego. It motivates us to behave in a socially responsible and acceptable manner. And then last one is ego. It balances the demands of the id and superego in the practical context of reality. So for example, id is the one that wants to taste a chocolate because it knows that chocolate tastes yummy or delicious. So it would say, I want a chocolate. But superego knows that chocolate has too much sugar and it's not good for your health. So superego doesn't want to have a chocolate. But ego would balance the id and superego. It will compromise, and then ego will say, I will take a small bite. Freud further explained that personality developed through 5 stages, which is called psychosexual stages of development. So these psychosexual stages of development is related to the psychoanalytic theory. Freud said that through these 5 stages, the id became focused on a specific part of the body, which is called erogenous areas. So each stage is marked by conflicts. If children able to resolve these conflicts, they will have healthy personality. But if conflicts are not resolved, fixations can occur where children remain stuck in this stage until the conflicts resolved. The first stage of psychosexual stages of development is oral stage, which happens between 0 to 1 year. So baby at this stage, they seek pleasure around the mouth, for example, sucking. The primary conflict is the weaning process. If the baby is weaned from the bottle or pressed too early, fixation occurs where the individual would have issues with, for example, they would drink, smoking, overeating, biting nails as an adult to compensate the oral stimulations that they didn't have. And then the second stage is anal stage between 1 to 3 years. Pleasure is focused on the bowel and bladder. Conflict is toilet training, because at this point, parents would normally start to toilet train their babies or toddlers. Parents who are too harsh or too lenient in the toilet training can cause a child to become fixated at this stage. They would either become anal retention, which means that the babies would become overly neat or precise, or anal repulsion, which means that the individual would be disorganized, messy, and destructive. And then we have the third stage is phatic stage, happens between 3 to 6 years. Pleasure is associated with the genitals. Children discover the differences between male and female. Conflict is children are attracted towards opposite sex parent, a term which called Oedipus complex for boys and Electra complex for girls. Fixation, the individuals would be confused over sexual identity or engaging in sexual deviances. Continue with fourth stage. Latency stage happens between 6 years until puberty. Sexual feelings are repressed during this stage, so children focus on social skills, relationships with peers and adults outside of the family. If fixation occurs, children may be immature and they are unable to form a relationship. And then the final stage, genital stage, from puberty and on, they develop interest towards opposite sex. If fixation occurs, the individual would be having unsatisfactory interpersonal relationships. Move on to the Erikson stages of psychosocial development. In this theory, Erikson didn't just focus on children. He proposed the personality development throughout the entire lifespan. So it has 8 stages. The first one is trust versus mistrust, happens between 0 to 1 year. Infants develop trust or mistrust depending on the quality of care they receive. If they have a very responsive caregiver, the baby develops a sense of trust. If the caregiver ignore the baby and very unresponsive, then the baby would develop anxiety, fear, and mistrust. And then the second stage is autonomy versus shame or doubt. It happens between 1 to 3 years. At this stage, children discover self-independence. So this is where me do it stage. The children want to do everything on his own or on her own. If given opportunities to do any task, children would develop self-esteem and autonomy. But if they are not given that opportunities to do any task, they doubt their abilities, and this would result the children feeling shame or having low self-esteem. The third stage is initiative versus guilt. Happens between 3 to 6 years. Children are able to initiate activities through social interactions. If children are allowed to explore, if they can do activities with their friends, they will feel initiative, a sense of ambition and responsibility. But if not, they develop feelings of guilt. The fourth stage is industry versus inferiority. happens between 6 to 12 years. At this stage, children discover many new skills and tend to compare themselves with others. If they are encouraged, they develop a sense of industry. They would persevere at tasks until they can complete the task, and if not, they feel inferior about their capabilities. The fifth stage is identity versus role confusion, happens between 12 to 18 years. Adolescents are finding their own identity, so they constantly ask questions such as who am I? What do I want in my life? So they would try many different identities to see which one fit them, and they would also explore various roles. And if adolescents who are successful at this stage would have a strong sense of identity, but those who remain unsure of their personality will experience role confusion. The sixth stage is intimacy versus isolation between 18 to 35 years. People at this stage tend to seek intimate relationships. If they have the relationships that they want, they would feel happy and they experience love and intimacy. But those who fail will feel isolation and alone. Seventh stage is generativity versus stagnation, happens between 35 to 65 years. So at this stage, people normally want to do something good to other people. Generativity involves doing contribution to others through activities such as volunteering, mentoring, and raising children. Those who are unable to accomplish this task will experience stagnation, feeling of uninvolved and unproductive. And then the final stage is integrity versus despair. From 65 to death, they will look back on their lives and accomplishments. Those who feel proud of their accomplishments will feel a sense of integrity. But those who did not accomplish their goals will experience regrets and feel despair. We have covered the theories related to social emotional development. So I think it's important for you to know the social emotional development criteria. The first one is self-awareness, the ability to know your feelings and how they affect your behavior. Self-management, the ability to control your emotions and work toward goals. Self-concept, the set of attributes, abilities, attitudes, and values that an individual believes defines who he or she is. Self-esteem, the judgment that we make about our worth and the feelings associated with those judgments. Social awareness, the ability to take the perspectives of others. Relationship skills, the ability to establish and maintain healthy and rewarding relationships. And decision making, a responsible decision making is the ability to make strong judgments about your behavior and how it affects others. So the detailed explanation of these criteria you can find from the lecture note that I have provided. I think I have highlighted all the important points from these two topics. So with all that, thank you.